Well, within 4 months, the coronavirus pandemic devastated the American economy. But it's also exposed another hidden issue in our country, the stark contrast of how Democrat and Republican-run states handled the pandemic. During last night's town hall, President Trump was asked if Americans can expect more aid from the federal government. Here was the president's response on the stalemate in Washington.
What I want to do is see some additional stimulus, and we're trying to get it, and we may. I mean, we just before I came here, we had some pretty good talks with the Democrats. We'll see. But they've been very difficult. What they want is a bailout of Democrat-run states that are doing poorly. And, you know, I don't think this is the right way to go.
Why do you keep talking about Democrat states and Democrat states? They're American states and American states.
Democrat-run states are the ones that are doing badly, George. If you look at New York, if you look at Illinois, if you look at a lot of different places, they're doing poorly. And cities, in particular, cities. I mean, these cities are being run so poorly.
And as the economic damage from the pandemic becomes more evident, our next guest agrees with President Trump, saying states seeking bailouts were in trouble long before COVID, and the left is using the pandemic as a means to bail them out. For more on that, we want to welcome in Kristin Tate, author of The Liberal Invasion of Red State America. Kristin, good to see you here this morning. As we know, Congress and the White House, they continue to debate over the latest round of coronavirus stimulus relief here. The president making it clear that he doesn't just want to bail out these blue states, as he considers them, these Democrat-run states and cities as well. What are your thoughts on that, on the president's approach?
I agree with the president. The coronavirus has exposed debilitating finances in many of these state capitals. These blue states have been run for years with fiscal irresponsibility, no spending restraint, and now they have to swallow the bitter pill of three options. They can slash spending, they can declare bankruptcy, or they can beg for federal bailouts. Now, blue states in the past, even in times of crises, rarely slash spending. That is not likely to happen. Declaring bankruptcy is a very politically unpopular option, so that would probably be a last resort, and that leaves federal bailouts. Now, I think a lot of these blue states are kind of waiting for the election because they know that if Joe Biden is elected, we may see blue state bailouts on an unprecedented level. But what Americans need to understand is that the Democrats are using the pandemic as an excuse to put forward these bailouts. These states were in trouble long before the coronavirus hit. I mean, look at New York. They had a $6 billion budget deficit at the beginning of 2020 before the pandemic, and yet nearly 300,000 public employees and retirees earn six-figure salaries. California, the same thing, $54 billion budget deficit at the beginning of this year, and yet almost 400,000 employees and retirees get six-figure salaries. So this has been going on long before the pandemic.
Yeah, I get the trend that you're going with here completely. The president want to show you a tweet that he sent out recently saying that Pelosi and Schumer want trillions of dollars of bailout money for blue states that are doing badly, both economically and in terms of high crime, as a condition to making a deal on stimulus. But the USA is coming back strong. So, Kristin, clearly, you know, the president would make the same argument that you are making there. My only question for you here are those Americans. Potentially they voted for these Democrat leaders as mayor or governor of the state, but right now they're still Americans and they're still needing some sort of assistance right now. And right now, especially during the coronavirus, they're looking for some sort of relief. You know, potentially that could come from Congress, and yet we haven't seen that happen because we can't reach an agreement. What advice would you give to Congress to actually make sure something comes out so these people are helped?
We need to put aside political differences and get something done, but even more importantly than that, we need to reopen the country. The reason that the economy is crippled is because of self-imposed government lockdowns that have put small businesses, they've closed these small businesses for months on end. We have, high unemployment because of the shutdowns. COVID death rates are way down. Thank goodness hospitalizations are way down. So it's time to get the country reopened safely, of course. But with regards to the bailouts, I really hope the Democrats can put that aside and focus on aid to actual Americans and small businesses that are so desperately needed right now. These state governments, they don't lack revenue, they lack spending restraint, and federal bailouts would just reward fiscal irresponsibility on the backs of the states that have been fiscally responsible, not just during the pandemic, but for years prior as well.
Well, if they're relying on that taxpayer money, it might not come. As we've seen some people fleeing these states, including New York. We're seeing a lot of people move to Florida, also fleeing California as well. So it goes to your point, and I think to your book as well. I'm sure you would touch on that. Kristin Tate joining us live here on the program this morning. Kristin, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Got it.